I'm Craig Hampel. I'm the recycling coordinator for the city of Burbank, and I've been here about 12 years. And there's never been a day of my life where I haven't been shocked at how much waste we all generate. Behind me is a pile of about 100 tons of material. And what that pile represents is about one person's lifetime in the United States and how much they throw away. It's phenomenal what we're doing. Most people think about recycling as a solution to consumption, but in fact, recycling is one of the last things we want to put on the list, just up above landfilling or just, getting rid of something completely. So what we do is we educate people and we try to tell the story of trash. Who generates it, who's responsible, where it goes, what is actually recyclable, what's durable, what is disposable. We get into all these issues and try to help people understand and navigate their way to upstream decisions rather than downstream decisions. And that's not easy. Recycling is really about reverse engineering. It's about taking materials and trying to get them back into a loop, back into some sort of usable form. And here at the Recycle Center, we collect metals, paper, plastics, glass, most of it's packaging. And this Recycle Center was developed almost 25 years ago, and it's built on that model. What's happened, though, is products have become far more complex, complicated. We have more composites, laminates, and just crazy mixed up materials along with electronics. So it's gotten a lot more difficult to recycle a lot of these complex things that we buy every day. Behind me are bales of high-density polyethylene. What you would know this as are water jugs, milk jugs, orange juice jugs, all those things that we get beverages in or some sort of liquid. This is just the natural color, but we also collect it in all the colors of the rainbow, where it comes as a package around laundry detergent, fabric softeners, shampoos, all those kinds of things. These are bales of mixed plastics. These are going to go across the ocean, probably to China, where the bales will be broken open. People will take those bales and separate them, mostly by hand, some by floating and sinking the plastics. Those that can be used will be recycled. Those that can't be, we sometimes wonder if they're going to get recycled or burned. But these are all sold overseas. From Burbank, they go to Long Beach. From Long Beach, they probably go to Shanghai, and they're distributed all over the Pacific Rim. Behind me are aluminum bales. Each one of these bales may be 30,000 cans. Imagine how much sugar everybody's drinking to have this many cans come up. And this is only from a few weeks here at the Recycle Center. These are bales of plastic bags. In Los Angeles County, they measured the number of takeout bags that everyone uses per year, and it was about 433 per person per year. Now, if you think of all the plastic wrappers that go into those carry-out bags, then you've got a multiplier of maybe 6 to 8, depending on how many packages you put in each one of those bags. That means each of us are using thousands of pieces of plastic wrapping every year. It used to be that people read newspapers and we had bins and piles and bales of newspaper at the Recycle Center. Now people read everything digitally. Behind me is cardboard. Cardboard has been rising because more and more people are shopping online. That means things have to be packaged twice. First to get them from the manufacturer to the retailer, but now they go from the retailer to the home in cardboard. So we're collecting more cardboard and virtually no newspaper. This scrap paper is just a mixture. Mostly it's advertising, printed material, all those things that we get on a daily basis in our mailbox and what we subscribe to. But this is from a community of about 103,000 people. In Los Angeles County, we have 10 million. In the United States, we have 350 million, something like that. So this just represents one small piece of what we're using, consuming, and either recycling or throwing away. This is the scale of machinery that you need to run a recycling center with. Recycling is for the rich. And one day, a third grader really set me straight. And I asked the class, what is recycling? And a little girl raised her hand and she said, oh, recycling. That's taking old trash and making new trash. What looks like just a mess of garbage here is actually about 60 to 70% glass. And this is how we get broken glass out of the recycle center. It has to go to a cleaning facility first, then it can be made into those greenish gold wine bottles, and we call it eco glass. It's 3 colors of glass, all broken, all mixed together. And this particular mix here has chicken bones, pieces of plastic, batteries, all sorts of stuff. And it's a mess. This is a baler that makes bales of paper. Each one of these bales is about 1 ton, about 2,000 pounds. We can generally get about 20 of these bales in one of the shipping containers that goes to China. Recycling's been attached to a lot of messages like save the earth, do the right thing, do the good thing. Unfortunately, it's also enabled industry to create a lot of waste. By making it convenient to get rid of waste and to reduce the guilt or the consciousness or the thinking about waste, we're actually enabling it. And this pile, again, behind me represents about one person's lifetime of trash. Here at the Recycle Center, we use a lot of displays to make our points, to show people what can and cannot be recycled, what things turn into after they're recycled. And we also show how watersheds work in the local community. This is one of the displays that we use at the Recycle Center just to show people what happens to recycled materials. Sometimes it goes out to events, sometimes to schools, or just visitors that come here can see it. This is our walk-through compost bin, and all of this interior is made from recycled junk. And the idea was to animate what it would be like to be an ant walking through a compost pile, and all the things that are wiggling, squirming, dancing, reproducing, eating, all those crazy things that go on under the soil. So this is another shot of the walk-through compost bin, and we've got fungus beetles kind of fighting over some food. We've got little worms and critters and mites and things that you wouldn't see unless you had a microscope. And if you're able to look at a little bit of compost under a microscope, you'll be amazed. It's like a freeway interchange at rush hour. My friend Noel Rhodes and I were inspired to build some piece of art that had to do with the LA River. And it turned out there was a river cleanup coming up in 2014. We thought, well, let's build a big fish and stuff it with trash from the LA River. The project started out with a bunch of crazy conversations about the absurdity of trash and animals and migrations and how steelhead used to run up that river. And now it's a concrete channel. And so we did some really crazy little napkin sketches, and Noel came up with some ideas, and pretty soon he had come up with some sketches for a head. And from that point, we had it set. I mean, it was just a simple little scribbling to get the whole thing started. We called up our friend Patrick, and we said, Patrick, we need a ladder to put this thing on. We want a frame. So he had one of those, and he had a tricycle. I had bamboo in the yard. I had palm in the yard. So we started building this armature, and friends would come over in the evenings, and we thought we'd have it ready for the river cleanup, but of course we didn't. It took, instead of taking a few weeks, it took quite a few months. In fact, it was about 1 year and 2 months before we actually had it finished. And so every month we'd work on it for a few hours here and there on Saturdays, evenings, and it started to take shape, and people started to get interested in it. And You know, the ideas started boiling, and everyone had a different take on it, and it all sort of came together in this crazy celebration of absurdity. And I think we almost, you know, invented our own theory of absurdity. Because what was more absurd? Building a huge fish that was 35 feet long, was going to be pulled by a bicycle, and we were going to take it on a migration along a concrete channel, or the absurdity of how much trash we make as human beings that end up in the river, that float to the ocean, that fill the seas. So all these conversations kind of went on while we were building this thing, along with a few basketball games and, you know, some radio music, and that's how it all got started. So the fish was made out of all these found objects, and Noel is a great sculptor, and he made the head first out of tomato cages, then chicken wire, then paper mache, and he worked on it in different stages. He got it blocked out first, then he started putting more bony ribs into it, and after a while we were all just sitting back going, okay, that's it, that's a gorgeous head. And then he took it to another level, and he stuffed the head with all these pieces of plastics and bottle caps, and the mouth is full of stuff, and the eye sockets are full of stuff. And so the head, I think, is really the gesture and the whole leading piece of this sculpture. And that was all Noel's doing. He really has a sense of gesture and expression, and he's a musician and artist. He just has that vocabulary, and he brought that to the fish. The other parts of it were really fun, but they were more technical. We built an armature, and I kind of liken it to a bobsled, or, you know, some sort of basket weaving, because we took bamboo and we split it into pieces and we wired it together on frames. And you know, the palm tree actually creates these witches' brooms that go up into the sky, and that's where the dates would be if it were a date palm, but it's not. And these big long pieces became the ribs and the spine bones sticking up. And so we attached those in wooden blocks along the spine that was a big long piece of bamboo. And inside those frames we have chicken wire, and on the chicken wire we started attaching all these pieces of plastic and bags and bottles and, you know, found objects and things dragged out of the river. And all of this stuff is what washes down the streets of LA, through the storm drains, out the river, and then out to the ocean. And every year, this is just a mad flushing of garbage from this urban center, and it's happening all over the world. So this fish is just a little piece of that. And we don't really mean to put that story in the face of people. We really mean to let that fish sit quietly and let people just explore it and look at the relationships. We like the idea that art speaks and you don't have to explain it. But the materials, I think, were kind of interesting. We used an old ladder as a framework to hold it up. We used some old baby jogging stroller wheels to wheel it. And once we got it all done, which was a mad rush, of course, we were entered in a bicycle art show put on by Metro, the local transit authority. And they said, sure, bring it down. Then we had to figure out how to get it down there. So on a Friday night at 11 o'clock p.m., friends met us to move this fish 13 miles from the bottom of the San Fernando Valley to downtown LA, and it was just a really great night. We had a beautiful moon. We went through some of the low geography of the San Fernando Valley along the end of the Santa Monica Mountains, and we were really doing a migratory route that would have been used at one time by steelhead. And we had to get over 4 bridges, which meant sort of a Roman pushing exercise where we had to get on the fish and push it up over 4 bridges. But it worked beautifully. And the night was just kind of magical in the sense that we were doing something that was so abnormal, so absurd, and yet it had just sort of this delight to it. So that was really a great night. The steelhead was actually built and pedaled by about 20 people, and it was entered into this Metro Color Wheels art show. And this is a local show in Los Angeles of artists that have taken bicycle themes, and it's a juried show. It's at the Caltrans building in downtown LA, and there'll be an opening night on May 14th, which is concurrent with the downtown Los Angeles Art Walk. So we're really happy that this was entered into this showing. It'll be there for a month, through the month of May. And what we're going to be doing is looking for other migrations for this fish. And so we hope that you get to see it.